I imagine the pitch for this particular pay-per-view, especially the main event, went something like this. All right, guys, we got to come up with some ideas to continue the momentum now that we're finally beating Billionaire Ted and his wrestling war room is in shambles. We are finally beating them in the ratings, and our pay-per-views are going up. The ratings are going up, and it's me and Austin. We're the hottest thing going. We're the reason that the ratings are continuing to rise high. Rock, Mankind, Undertaker, and various others raising their hands. Shut up, I'm talking. So I've got this great idea. Pat, you came up with the Royal Rumble concept. Why, yes, Vince, people have gone bananas. Sure, they've gone bananas. Absolutely right. Get Donkey Kong some bananas. I love that game. It's the last video game I ever played. But nevertheless, I have this great idea. How about it's Austin at 1, me at 2, and then we have Golga come in. John Tenta, you want to put on this mask? Go out there, not as Earthquake, but as a goofy Cartman-loving guy? Sure, Vince, I'll do that. Tenta's such a nice guy. And then me and Austin are going to battle to the back. We're going to battle to the women's restroom. The corporation is going to flood upon him because I saw Sullivan and Benoit do it, and I thought, that's great. We'll lay Austin out there, and then what we'll do, I'll get back out on commentary halfway through the match, and then Austin will come back out, and then it'll be down to us. We'll battle, The Rock will come out, and then I'll eliminate Austin, and I'll win the Royal Rumble and go on to WrestleMania. And nobody stopped to think, Vince, that's a really convoluted idea and is going to devalue the Royal Rumble. Shut up, I run this place, ha ha ha. It's such good shit. I'm John Renton with the Retro View, WWE Royal Rumble 1999, the Redux. Yes, about 5 years ago, I did a review of this and decided, you know what, I'm going to add more snark to it. Because honestly, at 43 years old and with retro viewing rather a bunch of these events, Rumbles, and other pay-per-views, WWE and WCW, I might as well just add a little bit more snark to it, and let's be perfectly honest, this is widely regarded as one of the worst, if not the worst, Royal Rumble events of all time. I'm going to get into some facts and figures, but I do want to know what you guys have to say about this particular Rumble, because 1999, years ago, this is for a long time, pretty much first, the first round of subscribers for my channel, I did a Why 1999 Sucked in Wrestling series. Now, in hindsight, while I did enjoy those videos and got some good views, I decided to spin it into Times in Wrestling to Piss Me Off Redux, and got some better views out of that, and some more snark, and some more jokes, and some more fun. That's a little bit of history right there. So, goddamn, that Vince McMahon impression is starting to really wear on me. I no wonder he talks the way he does. But the whole point is, after 5 years, I decided I wanted to see if this event was still as bad as I remember it. It's worse. It's worse because the undercard is so mediocre. The main event is super uncomfortable to watch, even though Rock and Mankind had great goddamn matches. A series of great matches from December all the way through to February. And then would end up teaming up later in the fall. WWF had a lot of really shit things going on their particular programs. The same night that Foley won the WWF Championship, and yes, it was WWF at the time, this sweet shirt, my sister bought the shirt, looked at the logo online and painted it. I forever value this because it's not actual merch. It's just a great shirt. It's very comfortable, too. That being said, the same night that Foley won the world title, they had the Terry Royals miscarriage angle she didn't want to do. You want to hear what I thought about Vince Russo and Ed Ferraro doing that? Check out that retro view. But let's get into some facts and figures, and then I'll break down enough of this show. Even though, to be perfectly honest, outside of the semi-main and the main event, there's not much of note. So, they were at the Arrowhead Pond of Anaheim, 18,000 seat capacity, around almost 15,000 fans, 650,000 pay-per-view buys. Astonishing. The highest it had been in a long goddamn time for the Rumble, for any of their pay-per-views. I believe Mania 14, if I'm right, did 700 something or 800,000 buys. But yeah, they did 716,000 worldwide. This is according to the figures on WrestleNomics. I encourage you guys to check out WrestleNomics, subscribe to their Patreon if you can. They do a lot of great facts and figures stuff for current stuff and old. But let's go back for the Rumble facts and figures. I'm only going back to 1995, but you have the Sun Dome in Tampa, Florida. They had a pretty close to a sellout. They had 225,000 pay-per-view buys. That was the 60-second interval Rumble, where Shawn went wire to wire. Don't get me wrong, going almost 40 minutes is impressive, but a lot of people try to say, oh, he's the Iron Man. I mean, Bulldog lasted just as long, just saying. I mean, maybe not so much now. That was mean. 1996, though, they were in Fresno, California at the Selland Arena. 10,000 seat capacity, 9,600 fans. 269,000, nice pay-per-view buys, and that's pretty good, especially for 96. If you actually, check out WrestleNomics and check out the pay-per-view buy rates for WWF pay-per-views, I think even SummerSlam was lower than that. 1997, the famous or infamous Alamo Dome show, where I think the Alamo Dome has a capacity of around 70,000 people. There is a particular friend of mine that was at that show that would be able to tell me, but it's got to be around 70,000 people. They had 60,000, just over 60,000 fans, and it looked great until you realize they were doing a lot of $10 and $5 tickets. Now, that's not the worst thing in the world. They probably took a bath on the house, but it was still a big goddamn deal. But what wasn't a big deal was the pay-per-view buys. 196,000 pay-per-view buys. Not good. And Mania, a couple months later, was the lowest bought one. 250-something thousand. Not very good. However, we get to 1998, the year before this one. For those of you that don't understand how a calendar works. San Jose, California, San Jose Arena, 19,000 seat capacity. Almost a complete sellout, or probably was considering the setup. 18,542 fans, 300,000 pay-per-view buys, 325K worldwide. Okay, they didn't get a lot of people buying it worldwide, but nevertheless. But then after 1999 and the 650,000 domestic, 716,000 total. As far as worldwide buys, we go to 2000. That's New York City, Madison Square Garden. One of the most famous undercards in Rumble history. Not the best Rumble, but a pretty solid undercard. So they pretty much flipped it here. Because this Rumble at least was memorable for the Austin Vince stuff and a couple things, but it really was just kind of, enhancement talent central. 20,000 seat capacity, at about 19,000 people. Whatever the capacity of Madison Square Garden is, because I know they have a particular theater that they can do closed circuit stuff in nearby. But 590,000 pay-per-view buys. Okay, a little bit lower, but it was back up to 716,000 worldwide. So they were doing better worldwide. Even though it was a little lower here, still better, still just as good as 99. 2001, New Orleans, Louisiana, the New Orleans Arena. They had 17,173 people, 625,000 pay-per-view buys worldwide. So pretty goddamn good there. And of course, I could go 2002 and that stuff. But that's kind of wrapping up from New Generation all the way through the end of the Attitude Era. But if we take a look at, what happened in the pay-per-views leading up to this and the pay-per-views afterwards, that's where things get a little bit interesting. And I did a retro review of Survivor Series 98, so let's go to that. They were at the Kiel Auditorium or Kiel Center. And it says it has an 18,000 seat capacity, but they had 21,000 people there. And so I'm guessing they opened up more floor seats or added more floor seats. Whatever it was, Sam Muchnick would have been proud to see that show. Maybe not, I don't know, but he would have been proud to see that crowd. They had about 506,000 pay-per-view buys. Big goddamn deal, especially considering how 1997 business was kind of dismal. Rock Bottom in Your House, 1998. That's when, before this point, they had taken the In Your House concept, and instead of doing a lower pay-per-view price for a smaller card, they decided to go with a 3-hour card and just bump it up. But you could watch it in your house, even though you watch pretty much all pay-per-views in your house. Until WWF New York came along. That dumpster fire. But yeah, Vancouver, BC, I believe was now the Rogers Arena. They had a legit sellout. 300,000 pay-per-view buys, not bad. Especially considering the screwjob finish they did, second year in a row, at Survivor Series before. And then after the Royal Rumble, Baba Walters, same Valentine's Day Massacre, they were at the Memphis Pyramid, 20,000 K or whatever, 21,000, not totally sure on that. But 19K, for the fans, and 450,000 pay-per-view buys. Mainly because they want to see Austin get his hands on Vince, and Vince shatter his goddamn tailbone, doing that whole, bump to the goddamn announcer's table. In hindsight, because of how much a pest Vince actually is, and how shitty he really was, yeah, not exactly, something that have a lot of sympathy for him on, but I'll give him credit. He wanted to take those bumps like crazy. But then we get to Mania 15. They were at the First Union Center in Philly, 21,000 seat capacity, and pretty much a sellout, just over 20,000 people. 863,000 pay-per-view buys. That was a terrible Mania, by the way. But they were rolling. Backlash, 99, the Providence Center in Providence, Rhode Island. 11K and a 14K building, and 400,000 pay-per-view buys. The whole point is they were cooking. They were doing really good stuff. And then things went over the edge, literally, in May of that year. But that being said, getting all those facts and figures, all that stuff going, now we can talk about the actual pay-per-view proper, including some of the setup. So, widely regarded as one of the worst Rumbles of all time. All about the Vince Austin storyline, which was hot, don't get me wrong, but the pay-per-view suffered because of it. You take a look at, like, the stuff that happened on Heat. Christian beat Jeff Hardy in an 11-minute match. Bob Holly and Too Cold Scorpio, that, yes, was still on this goddamn deal. He was still part of WWE. And they were the Job Squad. I can't imagine why Scorpio probably wasn't that receptive to a lot of things in WWE. The guy wasn't exactly known for being the best talker, but actually is a pretty dynamic talker in interviews. So you would have thought they could have just let him do his style and show off. But no, that wouldn't have been good. They had to give him Flash Funk. So yeah, they took on Too Much, Taylor and Brian Christopher. That match only went 4 minutes. And then Mankind took on Mabel, and that ended via DQ after 5 minutes when The Rock and Shane attacked and laid out Mankind because The Rock was going to face Mankind later. So no chance in hell plays as we see the 10-10-220 advertisement. Remember 10-10-220? Who remembers that? See, I'm 43, as I said before, so I'm old. I remember that shit. And look at all those signs. Otherworldly, the amount of signs. Also, I did do a retro review of Sold Out 99 that took place the week before this particular event. God, imagine if WCW had tried to go head-to-head pay-per-view wise. I hate to say it, Vince probably would have crushed them. But check out my retro review of that. There were a lot of signs there in Charleston, West Virginia, but they were at the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, which is nowhere near West Virginia. Pretty much literally on the opposite side of the country. Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler calling the action. JR, unfortunately, had his second bout of Bell's palsy hit, I believe, during the Capital Carnage pay-per-view that was taking place in the UK, which was about 6 weeks before this. And JR suffered a lot. Suffered a whole lot. But we get to the Big Boss Man versus Road Dogg. Road Dogg was a hardcore champion, but this wasn't going to be a hardcore match or a hardcore title match. Logic. Good logic there. You would have thought the corporation would have wanted to get as many championships as possible, but no, we couldn't have that. The Road Dogg was never good in the ring. The Road Dogg had the promo. He never had the ability. Bullet Bob would have been better off pulling out that night because, honestly, Road Dogg's pretty much a piece of shit. I mean, just read up on the guy. Not exactly the most progressive thinker in the world. His, CTE is progressive, assuming he ever had a brain to begin with. And the Boss Man, unfortunately, at this point, was on the downhill slide. And because you think about the size that he was in 85, 86, whenever he really started, because he was built up pretty goddamn big. Dusty saw him as a project. And if Jim Crockett hadn't screwed him over on the payoff for, I believe it was the Starrcade 87 scaffold match, then he probably would have stuck around. But then he went and made tens of thousands of dollars working against Hulk Hogan in a series of matches on a house show circuit and kept making oodles and oodles of money on merchandise and stuff like that. And I wish he'd been inducted in the Hall of Fame before he passed away. Unfortunately, I believe he passed away in 03, 04. I forget exactly what it was. It was really sad to see him at the 2002 Rumble because I believe that was the last pay-per-view appearance that he ever had. That being said, Rhodey was never good. He just never was, but he got by on charisma. Now the crowd was into this, I will say that much. There were some rest holds. There was a sidewalk slam that won it. There was nothing wrong with this match in particular except for the fact that it went on probably about 5 minutes longer than it needed to. The thing is they would have been better off putting a couple matches on the undercard besides the Rumble. They might have been better off doing the Rumble just at 90-second intervals because, to be perfectly honest, this Rumble dragged a lot. We see what led to Shamrock versus Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn exposing his Mr. Ass to Ryan Shamrock. If I remember right in interviews, Ken Shamrock and Ryan Shamrock actually were dating. And the idea was to do a possible incest storyline, which was a bad idea. I mean, they weren't actually brother and sister. Just wanted to say that. I don't know what the hell happened to Ryan Shamrock, by the way. But we get Ken Shamrock versus Billy Gunn. And it's for the Intercontinental Championship. Billy got what he wanted. He wanted the Intercontinental title shot. He regretted that because even though he hit some good offense and did some good stuff, and Val Venus would show up, and after some ankle targeting, Val Venus showed up and hit a DDT on Shamrock because Val Venus wanted to show his big Valvoski and thrust it right inside Ryan Shamrock. You want to talk about noted crackpots, Val Venus, oh boy. But Val hit that, and then we got the cover for 2. And then, yeah, there were 2 shirtless dudes grinding and gyrating in the crowd. I wonder how drunk they were. Like, I legit wonder they looked like they were toasted. Because when Val Venus came out, everybody has to do that. Billy tried for a top rope maneuver, rolled his ankle, and Shamrock got the ankle lock on and got the victory. This went 15 minutes. Should have gone 10. And it's hard to believe Billy Gunn is still wrestling. It really is. So Shane McMahon is firing up Vince while the Stooges are there. You know, the guy, Gerald Briscoe, and the guy that had nothing to do with the Ring Boy scandal, Pat Patterson. Why would anyone think that? No, it's not because he's gay that I'm thinking that. I give 2 shits what his goddamn sexual orientation is. There are plenty of stories out about Pat Patterson, so may he burn in hell. So, but it's great that he invented the Royal Rumble concept. X-Pac defended the European Championship against Gangrel. Nothing really to say about this. It was short. It was about as short as the other matches should have been. And X Factor got the victory. This is the only time we see any of the people mentioned. Road Dogg, Bossman, Shamrock, Billy, X-Pac, or Gangrel. Because they're all pulling double duty, huh? Kevin Kelly's with DX. Well, Triple H, Chyna, Road Dogg. I don't think Billy was in this. He was nursing his ankle. X-Pac showed up. Who's going to win the Rumble? Also, there is a $100,000 bounty. Maybe they're going to divide it up in increments of 10 people eliminated Austin. And $100,000 bounty to whoever eliminates Stone Cold Steve Austin. So, here's Shane to introduce Luna Vachon. Luna Vachon, by the way, after the Dark Side of the Ring episode, deserves all the respect. I mean, Luna deserved respect before because you could tell that she really wanted to show her love of wrestling, work hard, was legit tough, tougher than a lot of guys. And then Shane basically says Sable is coming down to forfeit the championship because of a back injury. Sable has a bad back. The jokes write themselves, folks. The jokes write themselves. She has worked so hard to, learn this craft. No, she didn't, Cole. Sable never wanted to learn this. Okay, Sable versus Luna. Strap match for the Women's Championship. One of the most embarrassing things that I've seen because Luna had to carry this plasticky sack of shit to a goddamn, passable match at Mania 14. And sure, the crowd loves Sable. And if you guys love Sable, I'm not knocking you one goddamn bit. You can love Sable all you want. I prefer women that don't look like they will melt under spotlights or stoplights. I prefer women that actually respect wrestling. She never did. She got over $1 million for a Playboy contract. $1 million, at least. Maybe $1.5 million. I don't know. She got that. Luna cutting her teeth in wrestling. You had Ivory cutting her teeth in wrestling. Jacqueline, or Jaqueline, thank you very much, Durable, never unhear that. Terry, who loved the business. Molly Holly, who was in WCW at this point. So many women. Medusa. Bull Nakano. Not Bull Nakano, as Randy Savage used to say. A joke went over about as well as Larry Zbyszko's New World Odor thing. That being said, Sable never deserved any of the accolades she got in the ring. Now, I can understand why a lot of guys wanted to tune in and see her, because people didn't have standards then. Look, again, if you liked Sable, that's fine. I'm sorry. I would have rather eaten glass than ever said that Sable was attractive. And knowing what people know about her now, it's funny that she got all this stuff. And I don't know what became of the lawsuit that she levied against Vince and WWE, saying sexual harassment. Stuff could have happened, stuff could have not happened. I'm not saying Sable deserved that. I'm not saying that. It's just funny that she came back to the company 4 years later to work, and now her and Brock are happy, and hopefully she's never inducted in the Hall of Fame because she doesn't deserve it. There are women like Miss Elizabeth and others that got inducted posthumously, or however the hell you say that, because I can never get it right, that deserve a lot more than Sable ever was given in wrestling. They deserve their accolades. Sable never deserved any accolades. Goddamn trash heap. Oh, a back injury. Yeah, well, geez, I wonder how she got that. It's the only way she would have ever stayed in wrestling, ever gotten the championship. She also refused to lose a championship. Luna was going to actually win this. She couldn't wrestle. She couldn't work. She couldn't talk. I believe Jim Cornette once said, I don't know what they got for putting a live microphone in front of Sable, but it should have been 3 to 5 years. And Luna carrying this stupid sack of shit that was more leathery than that stupid strap that she was swinging, and probably literally hitting Luna pretty goddamn hard with it. And Luna could take it. But, yeah, Sable couldn't do anything. Sable won. And that was when Tori came down, but when Tori was just a stalker. Not Tori Wilson, but Tori, Tori. And she leveled Luna. By the way, Terry Power, she had wrestled for a number of years and then couldn't even get anything good out of Sable. Sable had to basically have the championship stripped from her literally sometime in May, I believe. May or June of 99. And then she was gone. Thank fuck. Women's wrestling didn't recover after she was gone. It took a bit for a lot of women to be taken even halfway seriously. Thanks, Sable. Plasticky trash heap. So let's get to Mankind and The Rock. I Quit match for the WWE Championship. So Mankind said Mankind's going to make The Rock say I quit. His video package, all this stuff. Went to Rock. We had, we had the finals at Survivor Series 98. We had the Rock Bottom in Your House match. We had Foley win the title on the January 4th, 1999 episode of, Raw. That was actually taped the week before. And then we got all this, and Rock said he, offered all this stuff to get another shot. And he says, honestly, The Rock quits. And then Foley says, I accept you and me in an I Quit match. How does it feel to be in a match that you can't win and I can't lose? So, early on, as I said before, the corporation beat down Mankind's. Mabel even hit a splash. Foley's wife and kids were in the front row. This is according to be on the mat, and also the fact you can see them in a few shots. Watching their dad bleeding and getting beat down. I'm sure the kids love that. The step bumps the bell to the head. Bells will be ringing. And then the Spanish announcer's table collapses because they didn't prepare that properly. Goal. You can imagine Hugo, was probably upset because his stash got knocked off of there. Hugo Savinovich, seriously, Google that. Google him at Mexican wrestling shows. Just have blow right there, like it's Tony Khan booking in AEW. So they go to the entranceway. I'm not going to go blow by blow with this, but they took it. The first half is all right. The first half of this is actually all right. It just gets uncomfortable later. There's a point where a ladder gets brought in. And then, Foley tries for an elbow drop. The Rock's under it. The Rock sort of gets out of the way. And Foley hurts his elbow. And then the ladder gets set up. And they battle onto this guardrail area where Foley gets knocked. And I know it's called Mankind here. I'm calling him Foley because it's just what everybody knows him as. Gets knocked into this electrical equipment. And the lights go out briefly. I mean, obviously, the pay-per-view didn't get knocked off the air. So obviously, it wasn't that. It was a way to stage all this stuff. And The Rock says, that son of a bitch will say I quit, and I'll be damned if he doesn't. Shane's even trying to stop all this stuff. They get back in the ring. Rock handcuffs Mankind's hands behind his back. This is where it gets uncomfortable. They should have used better handcuffs. Handcuffs with a little bit more give. Maybe not ones with the chain that wide, but not ones where it's like literally his hands were just like this. Like it was not comfortable. And Rock's hitting him. Foley eventually does fire back, even hits a low blow, kneeing Rock in the nuts. Rock also wearing a shirt during this, because he had to have some form of breast reduction surgery. I can't imagine why. Why would anybody think that? It had nothing to do with any enhancements. Nevertheless, Rock then takes over with a shoulder block and then puts a chair on Foley's face and does the people's elbow, and Foley's really bleeding now. And this is where the family gets uncomfortable and very upset, and I don't blame them. The kids are watching their dad get his brains beaten in. And then the numerous unprotected chair shots to the head. And it gets more and more uncomfortable. I don't remember if he admitted this in an interview recently or if it was a while ago. He realized that this is where things were being taken too far. Rock even admitted he got carried away. These things happen. I'm sure there were issues between both of them for a bit, but the whole point is Foley got beat down. Michael Cole actually was not bad here. He was actually, just Mick, say it. Mick, the title isn't worth this. He was actually not bad here before he became a puppet. I think JR might have actually had legit, split in two, calling this thing. So maybe, it wasn't a good thing he got Bell's palsy, but maybe it's a good thing he was at home convalescing. Especially since his mother passed away just around the time that maybe he should have gotten time off and Vince should have given him time off. Nevertheless, there was an earlier part where Foley had yelled, I will not say the words, I quit, I quit, I quit. That was something he said, I believe, on Heat. It was either on Heat or on Raw. Then, I think it was on Heat. But then, Rock says, your ass will say I quit. And then they play the audio, even though Foley's not moving. Rock wins, and he's the champion again. And then they would do halftime Heat a little bit later. I can't remember if it was in the same building as this and they just shot this a little bit late. I actually don't remember. But Rock would lose the championship again, and then they would do the last man standing match where they would both get counted down. Then he would have to do a ladder match a little bit later, I think the next night on Raw. The whole point is this was, it's uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. So now we get to the Royal Rumble match, and I'm not going to go over blow by blow with this. I'm just going to basically say it starts with Rock Austin. After Golga gets in there, yes, John Tenta, late great John Tenta, who was Earthquake, and they felt he lost too much weight, so let's dress him up in a mask with a Cartman shirt and his Cartman doll. So after he gets eliminated, Rock and Austin battle to the crowd, battle to the back. Austin gets laid out in a women's restroom, and then is taken to the hospital. And then for a while, Draws is in the ring, and then it's Draws and Edge, and then Gilbert shows up. He's eliminated. Steve Blackman, one of the toughest men ever, shows up at number 7. Cameras are panning to Austin being taken to the hospital. Dan Severn, Tiger Ali Singh, Blue Meanie. You see, and nothing against Blue Meanie, but you see what I mean about this pretty much just being either, mid-card or enhancement talent central. Basically Mabel comes in after attacking Mosh and taking his place. He eliminates a few people. I can't remember, it's 4 or 5, and then the lights go out after Road Dogg gets in. That's exactly how everybody should have viewed Road Dogg's career, with the lights out. I can't wait for his lights to be turned out permanently. That being said, lights go out, and the Ministry is beating up Mabel. They've recently, attacked Dennis Knight, chained him up, and he has been turned into Midian, or is about to be turned into Midian. The Ministry stuff was really not all that good in hindsight. It wasn't even really that good to begin with, but Mabel is being besieged by The Undertaker. Allow the purity of evil to guide you. This is how we made Viscera. Gangrel is at number 13. He got tossed really quickly. Kurgan at 14. I can't imagine why Kurgan decided to go to Hollywood and be a stunt guy and stuff like Sherlock Holmes and was it 300? I'm really trying to remember. I know that Kurgan was in a bunch of stuff. Nevertheless, Al Snow at number 15. So yeah, we're getting a lot of people doing various just bumps and everything and craziness going on. Everybody's just doing all kinds of stuff. Actually, nobody's really doing any bumps. People are just kind of taking it easy because nobody cares about this Rumble because it's all about Vince and Austin. Goldust is 16. Vince shows up after the Godfather and his hoes, and Kane had eliminated 4 people. He had taken them out, and then they had the storyline going with Kane and these white coats. You know, these people from this insane asylum, putting Kane back in the insane asylum, despite the fact they never mentioned an insane asylum, and this is just a way to get sympathy on Kane. And it wasn't a very good storyline. Vince shows up and says, oh, here's Shamrock. I'm going to go do commentary. So then we get Billy Gunn out here again. We get Test. Mabel got put in a hearse. And then again in February 2014, going to hell. Austin shows back up, chases Vince around. Chase the Vince around. We gave Triple H, Val, Bossman, Henry, D'Lo, Jarrett and Austin go at it briefly. Austin beats the shit out of Jeff Jarrett for the lousy payoffs that Jerry gave him. Owen at 29, Chyna at number 30. Chyna eliminates Mark Henry, and then Austin eliminates Chyna. If he tried to stun her, the chin would have broken his shoulder. That's mean. Why am I so mean? But Austin doesn't care if you're a man or a woman. Yeah, Jeannie Clark knows about that. Yeah, I wonder why Austin's wife went back to England, had served him with divorce papers, went back to England with the kids around Mania 15. I wonder what Deborah would have to say. Austin, one of the biggest draws of all time. He abused at least 2 of his wives, possibly all 3. Anyway, it comes down to Austin and Vince. Vince gets destroyed for a while. Rock shows up. Austin gets eliminated by Vince. Austin battles Rock to the back. Vince celebrates with a beer bath. And the Stooges are there, and Shane's there, and all that. And yay! I guarantee you this. I will not be retro-viewing this in another 5 years. I probably won't even be doing this shit in another 5 years because I'm going to be almost 50. Yeah, not a great Rumble at all. Like, really not very good, like, as an event altogether. But that being said, I decided to do more snark and jokes and knock Sable and knock a bunch of other stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rickland. I'll see you soon.